listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Live every single Tuesday night right here on all your favorite social media networks. You can catch the audio downloadable version Thursdays at midnight. Thank you. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate all the love. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host. He's out this week. He's a little under the weather. The Indians didn't take him. He's still alive, but he's hacking at home.
He's alive!
Wrong holiday. That brings us to our other host, him over there.
Gunther and Mrs. Klaus has sickened Sean. She's trying to take us out one by one so we cannot reveal her plans. She did not get all the ungrateful children's as they had planned for Thanksgiving, and now she is extra angry and is going to take every child, the ungrateful and grateful alike, all of these innocent children. They are innocent and they are doomed unless we stop her.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. She's taking out her blame on us.
She's poisoned Sean.
This has never happened before.
Never.
We're used to it always being just, the children she's after. But now, when she doesn't get her fill, she comes after us.
I'm hoping Sean feels better and that her power doesn't have any hold over him.
We need you back next week. We can't afford this. Yeah. Christmas could be at a loss.
We need Sean to save Christmas.
I feel like that could be a Netflix original.
That'd be a great movie.
Sean Saves Christmas.
Sean Saves Christmas.
It'd be like a sappy holiday. Hallmark.
I don't know. It kind of gives me like an Ernest feel. Ernest Saves Christmas, but now it's Sean Saves Christmas.
I like it.
Maybe Sean's Ernest's son.
And it wouldn't be like Shaun of the Dead. It would be spelled correctly.
Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean, we hope you feel better. We know you're going to be back next week. You've already told us. You're coming, well, sort of semi.
He'll be on the show. Well, not physically on the show.
I was going to say, He's already given us heads up. There was some foul up in plans because he should be here next week, but he's maybe he'll be in person. He has
family things going on.
The family things kind of during the holidays. That's a given. That happens.
Christmas school type things,
But he will be making an appearance on it. He will be live on the iPad. If it's got to be on a screen, it won't be just him in that shirt and that chair.
He'll be on the tablets.
He'll be here in digital form, just like we were for a year with COVID and all that nonsense.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Talk about a blast from the past.
Why you have to bring up terrible things?
I shouldn't have. It's a bygone era. We don't want to go back to those days. Isn't it weird? It doesn't fit. It seems like it was so long ago.
It does seem like it's a long time ago. I mean, I almost like I was singing Auld Lang Syne in my head, like those are forgotten days.
The days of old past. Yeah, let's just put it behind us. All our acquaintance be forgot.
Oh, there it is.
I had it working this week.
It is. It's
working. Actually, while you were doing your Gunther rant.
Oh, were you getting it pulled up?
I made sure I had it pulled up.
Well,
but I will say. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was going to begin talking about the review. That's all.
I don't want to bury the lead too much, but I do want to say, just tune in next week.
Oh, yeah.
At the top of the show. It's our 499th episode, not our 500th. But we have a big announcement about the 500th episode.
Yeah, we do.
Starting at the beginning of next week's show.
We want you eager with anticipation.
So I just want to throw out that little teaser there.
Yeah. I'm glad you did that first. Yeah,
and it'd be the same thing. We're going to dive into the show, do our intros, but then we're going to spill the beans, get it out of the way, let everybody know what's going on episode 499 at the very top of the show. So you don't want to miss next week.
Yeah.
We're all going to be part of it. Got a big announcement coming.
Big announcement.
So tune in next week.
It's going to be huge.
But huge, very bigly. So you were saying, though?
I was saying we do have a review this week. I mean,
lots of fun. We missed Sean, big announcements. There's a lot going on, but we did review one of the big ones on the block. It was the biggest on the block last week. I think it landed in second this week, right behind Moana 2, which was the big one this week. Which I think we may end up reviewing. I think
it's probably going to be our next review, just because of how massive
it was huge.
is.
I mean, it's the largest. This was the largest Thanksgiving box office in history, correct? With
hence the name of our episode.
Yeah. So
stuffed. It was a stuffed box office.
But you had Moana, Wicked, and then Gladiator 2 all landing 1, 2, 3. We've already reviewed Gladiator, so
I mean, just keep the hits rolling. Why not?
Next up, we did go see Wicked. We had lots of mixed feelings before we saw it because we didn't know what to expect. But
look, 3 dudes on a podcast. I guess you could say we musicals are not our forte. They're probably not the first thing we would clamor to go see.
I do like musicals. I don't want to say I don't want to act like just because I'm a dude I don't. But it's a certain kind of musical. I would say I did like Greatest Showman, and even that was a little leaning towards. I definitely am not you give me the High School Musical pop type thing, and I'm just
funny?
Nah, I'm good. I don't like that type of musical.
Whether you like it or not. And I think we'll see because we're going to talk about it after the review.
Yeah.
I have some comparisons to The Greatest Showman with regard
to
Wicked.
No, that's fair. I think that's fair.
But also a current modern day musical that I really enjoyed that we all did walking out and were very surprised by, La La Land.
Oh, yeah. I love
La La Land.
La La Land's great.
I mean, we reviewed that on the show a few years back.
Yep.
We clamored for it to try to win the Best Picture award winner. It
won
the rightful Best Picture.
It won Best Picture, and I don't know what they're talking about.
Warren Beatty read the correct thing.
He did. He knew what he was talking about. Everybody acted like he was some senile old man. He knew.
He knew what it was supposed to say, and at the last minute they tried to get him to change it, and his senile nature just read the exact words that were on the page. We know they were the winner.
They're like, we need you to say Moonlight, and he's just like, no.
And then Will Smith came in there and slapped him, and he said the wrong thing. That's what it was.
Jimmy Kimmel was crying somewhere.
As always.
Yeah.
He's always got
That's the Oscars in a nutshell, man.
That's it. For the last decade.
Senility, Jimmy Kimmel crying, and whatever controversial thing's going to happen.
Every once in a while you throw Billy Crystal in there.
He's not been a while. It's been a while.
Has it been over a decade?
I want to say it probably has. I can't.
I feel like it was really it's mainly been Jimmy Kimmel. I know there was the one year with...
I think that's when you know they're truly dead is when they ask Billy Crystal for one last go.
And he says no. He's just I'm not doing
we want you to come back and host the Oscars one last time.
He's done with that.
That or it'll be Whoopi again.
Oh, gosh.
You really know it's dead then, but they're like, hey, Whoopi, will you host the Oscars again?
She's cooked her own goose. I mean, she's got enough of... Talk about, her own hosting abilities on The View. It's I think they've seen enough from her. They're not going to go back down that road. Jimmy Kimmel, for that matter, should be the same. But you were far away.
I think you were talking about Conan.
No. There was a Martin. Was it Martin? Not Martin Lawrence. Steve Martin.
Oh yeah.
And was it him paired with somebody else?
Martin Short.
Maybe it was.
They're usually together on a lot of things.
I think they did it one year. I'm trying to think.
I want to say they have hosted something. It may have been the Oscars.
And then
they're funny together. I do like they're back and forth.
Oh, Amy Poehler.
And that one was stupid.
I know. They've had so many misses.
I mean,
the best years so far in the last decade have been the I think 2 years they did without hosts.
Yeah.
That was the best years.
Yeah.
And even then,
I didn't mind some of Kimmel's early years, but that was during the Obama era when he wasn't crying yet. So,
yeah, that's true.
And I didn't mind some of Ellen, but then it's once Obama was out of the White House and all hell broke loose.
The good times were over.
It was
and they just had to let us all know about it.
Yeah.
And every chance they got. But anyways, we're not going to go down an Oscar rant. We do that every year.
We might. This movie has some talk.
That's true. It is pushing a lot of people into the discussion of...
I do get it. I mean, I get it, having seen it, but I guess we'll have to...
A late-in-the-year release, doing as well as it did at the box office?
Yeah.
But what did we think about it? Do we think it deserves the praise that it's getting from both audiences and critics? Well,
you go find out.
Here's our review of Wicked.
No one mourns the wicked, perhaps because all too often now people celebrate it. Though the last few weeks, celebrating Wicked takes a bit of a different meaning. as John Chu's latest movie, Wicked, based on the Broadway play of the same name, which was loosely based on a novel of the same name, continues to be a massive hit over the Thanksgiving weekend. Standing at a staggering box office total of nearly $360 million after its second weekend in cinemas, Wicked has been a massive hit. Starring Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, who will one day become the Wicked Witch of the West, and Ariana Grande as Glinda, Wicked, for those who don't know by now, tells the origins of the two prominent witches from the classic Wizard of Oz tale, though with a slight twist. Wicked centers around Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, and how she became wicked. Another in a long line of tales told from the villain's point of view, in which the villain is made to be sympathetic, or otherwise revealed to have never actually been a villain at all. And often it is the classic hero revealed to have been the true villain all along. These stories have become more and more prevalent in a society that, as stated earlier, seems to celebrate the wicked more and more. And to say I was apprehensive about the film before seeing it is a definite understatement. I wasn't particularly looking forward to another movie preaching at me about why I too should be celebrating that which is wicked. To my surprise, however, Wicked isn't so much about trying to make those things that are evil seem good. Elphaba is made to be a sympathetic villain, someone whose life was made harsh by the failings of those in power constantly. First by both parents, an unfaithful mother, and a father whose reputation meant more than his daughter. Elphaba's fall to evil is justified in defense against bigotry and racism by the evils of a system ran by a cis-white male. In this way, it perfectly fits the recent woke mold of Hollywood, and these are plot elements and themes that are fully baked into the story, and in today's political climate, they cannot be ignored. Frankly, though, it was a much fresher idea when the book originally came out, though I am ultimately just not extra fond of trying to justify a villain's motives and turn them into a hero. I do like a good redemption story if it's done well, but the wholesale turning of villains into sympathetic underdogs has gotten old. Knowing all of this, however, I never felt Wicked was overly trying to praise evil, but that John Chu was instead trying his best to make a faithful adaptation of the musical itself, and that the film does still call out both sides. Yes, Elphaba became wicked to fight injustice, but the story does treat it as evil fighting evil, which can only lead to more evil. Hence where Glinda comes into play. Advertising heavily made it feel that Glinda would be the spoiled, privileged catalyst that makes the witch wicked. Yet her character arc on film is where I felt the movie somewhat stood apart in not wholly praising the witch's actions. Glinda is certainly still a catalyst for a lot of the plot, but she's also the character audiences are meant to be able to insert themselves into in the discovery of the film's themes. It's Glinda whose journey is to discover what actually being good means. As someone who's never read the book nor play, I could be way off base. But perhaps part 2, yes, this film is only part 1, will prove me wrong. The production value is fantastic, and Grande and Erivo both have absolutely stellar voices. The song and dance numbers, while not always my cup of tea, are also incredibly performed. I love traditional musicals aplenty, give me Singing in the Rain or Anything Goes. Hell, even the original Wizard of Oz. The newer pop musical full of oversaturated colors and frivolous preteen dances isn't really my thing. Wicked has a mix of classic and new, but it's definitely more appealing to women than a 35-year-old man. The acting is mostly good, if not a bit over-exaggerated, though that's typical of Broadway-style productions and can translate well to film when done right. There's a few moments that I felt could have used more subtle acting. The majority of the main cast, though, are good. The dialogue was hit or miss, just enough for me to ponder what was direct from the play and what was added. With the film split into 2 movies, part 1 is almost the same runtime as the entirety of the Broadway play. While I've never seen the play, it's obvious more content was added to fill this runtime. And many scenes are extravagantly written and pulled me into the atmosphere of the movie, only for clunkier dialogue to be spoken that breaks the scene. Likewise, the pacing lulls halfway through as well. With the quality of writing and the pacing dipping in and out, I got the sense that the best parts of the film, the parts I actually liked, are probably the source material, with the extra content being what weighs the film down. Add to this beautiful imagery based on the stereotypical look of Oz we've come to know since the original MGM film, mixed with scenes of very poor CGI, including the talking animals, which play an integral part of the film, and the movie was very uneven for me, but still obviously something I could understand others liking. Its morals and themes speak about universal topics, such as the evils that do come from marginalizing others, and it's done in a mostly universal way through anthropomorphic animals, and I couldn't argue against that message at all. Unfortunately, in modern times and in modern Hollywood, the ultimate message can be muddied by bad faith promoters and jaded audiences who've been forced for so long to keep their guards up. I don't agree with every message in Wicked, and ultimately don't care for the witch being a sympathetic villain either. But a lot of this also depends on how the second part brings the story and themes home. It is still well made for the most part, and I do think most will enjoy it. For me personally, however, there was just too much I had seen before, on top of the instances where Chu did fail in filmmaking. I give Wicked 2.5 out of 4 stars.
There you go. There you have it. 2.5 out of 4 stars for Wicked. So
Wow.
let's. There you go. I wish we had the Jeff. Oh, we do have it. Jeff Goldblum.
I played that one earlier.
Well,
Oh,
there it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. All right.
That's
Well,
why I
there
went
it
with
is.
WoW this time.
There it is. It ties in because he's Oz.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
scene, that's why I was
Man,
gonna-
can I don't want to I don't
Redo it?
No. I was gonna say briefly in the movie because I haven't seen the play. I don't know how it pans out. So I could be right or wrong, but. Obviously, I mentioned in the review the unfaithful mother, the guy that comes in.
Oh, straight up.
I was like, that's Jeff Goldblum.
yes.
Yeah. So I'm like,
I straight up
So I'm
figured that
expecting
out from-
I'm expecting the twist obviously to be. It's like, oh, is that her father?
Again, if we spoiled something,
Yeah,
sorry.
no.
But
Well, it's an
no.
old play, and I've not seen the play, read the book. I don't know the answer, but as soon as I saw him, I'm
No,
like,
100%.
I'm like, that's going to be a twist. Is that he's her actual
Well,
father?
is it? I don't think it is.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I don't.
I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. But if it's supposed to be a reveal,
Like
they did
Oz
a
is her dad.
crappy job. Well, because even in the reveal in the movie when he comes out to greet her once they get to Oz,
Yeah.
which granted that's no secret, that's in the trailers.
Yeah.
But it's like he's not smitten with her, but he's very like, oh, I wouldn't have bothered you with all the theatrics if I'd known it was you.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's a very on the nose, like you're supposed to know, even though they
Even
don't.
though she doesn't know yet.
Right.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah, you're right.
So I really don't think.
But
it was
yeah, as
supposed
soon
to
as
be a
like
big
he's like,
reveal.
even though it doesn't show his face, like as soon as he's coming through the door, like just because it's Jeff Goldblum,
You hear it.
His voice, his
Yes.
mannerisms, everything. It's like as soon as he comes in and he's like, whatever he's saying.
if they were
yeah.
really trying to hide it, you should have gotten someone less or more inconspicuous.
yeah,
than Jeff
but I was
Goldblum.
just like, that's Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. Oh, immediately.
Or
And
maybe
did you
because-
notice the mom is the freaking one of the dwarfs from
Oh
Rings
yeah,
of Pooh?
actually, I didn't. She kept looking familiar,
Yes.
and I couldn't pin it. But now that you say
And as
that,
soon as I
yes.
saw her, I was like, "Oh gosh!"
Yes.
I was like, "Oh, I don't want to look at you because of the horrible job you did in Rings of Pooh."
Maybe because the play is older and the book's older, and people already kind of know a lot of the plot details. Maybe they weren't trying to hide the Jeff Goldblum. Like maybe it was a twist in the play, but they just went with it in the movie.
Well, I will be honest. I expected the reveal in this film.
Yeah.
In that moment where he shows himself, I thought he was going to confess to her.
Oh yeah.
Because again, and this is where I have some gripes with the film. I ended up on the 2.5 stars along with you.
Yeah.
I was erring on 3 because I was kind of most of the film at 2.
Yeah.
Then it got towards the end, and I really liked the ending. And pretty much from the moment that they go to Oz,
Yeah.
actually, really from the moment that Glinda starts to become
Good.
friends
Yeah.
with Elphaba,
That's actually
it picked
yes.
up for me, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm actually enjoying this now because they didn't just make it a stark, like dark and bad, like what you thought was good is bad
Yeah.
and what you thought was bad is good. They didn't
Same
do that.
actually. As soon as like she starts coming around, and I realize, oh, like because I mentioned that in the review too. It's almost like the story is also hers and her learning what being good actually is.
Yes.
and I actually appreciated that. I was like, okay, I kind of like the twist, like not the twist in that like thematic way, but the idea that the witch was a decent person who's going to become evil, and Glinda was this snobby, stuck-up person who's now going to become good. And I'm like, actually, that dynamic I do kind of like, because it's not just, oh, all these people were horrible to the witch, so that's why she's evil.
Yes.
It's kind of like they both learn from each other for good or ill. So
and I know you stated it in the review, and you even kind of reiterated it when we were talking while the review was playing. But I will say, this was kind of one back when we were in high school, even before that, when the play originally hit in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
This was one of those new
huge.
takes. Well, it was huge, but it was one of those new takes on the idea of what if?
Yeah.
And it was the idea that, what if the Wicked Witch was never actually really wicked?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I haven't seen the play, haven't read the book. Apparently it's not closely related to the book. They make stark
apparently
differences.
there's the book's a lot darker and more graphic.
That's what I've heard. Very graphic in certain instances with like some bestiality going on. Or so. I don't know. I don't know. That's rumor. I haven't read it. But also,
the animals do walk and talk. That's still creepy. Not said, but I'm just like, I don't know.
But the thing is with the original, when it came out, that was a unique twist.
Yeah.
That wasn't a plot point that had been done countless times.
Yeah.
In the last decade and a half since,
Every villain.
everything is even up to, and I would argue he's a good villain, but even Thanos in Endgame and Infinity War.
In the comics, he doesn't have a noble motivation for doing what he does.
It was something that was added.
It was and granted, like again, the movies were great, and I do think it gave the villain more depth, especially because it's not that the comic villain doesn't have depth, but there was a lot involved.
Very just maniacal by,
they hadn't introduced all the elements to really explain. Like, he does what he does to impress Death, who is like a personified character.
And they couldn't introduce
and
Death
it's like they hadn't introduced Death.
Yeah.
They hadn't actually. Death was introduced in Agatha all along, apparently. So just like, yay.
Never mind. We're not going on that.
No. But I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But it is. I get kind of what they did with Thanos, and at least they didn't try to make you feel like, while he had a motivation that you could understand, I don't feel like they were trying to make you feel sympathetic towards him. I mean, it's a joke on the internet, but it's like, Thanos is right. We should just wipe out.
Every time humanity does something stupid, that has become the meme now.
And I mean, it's funny, but yeah, when you make Disney did it with Maleficent. They didn't do too bad with Cruella. That one I thought was well done.
True. But you're pointing out that this
is a
has
constant
been
trend. Yeah.
A trend in Hollywood for quite some time.
Especially with Disney for some reason.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, it gives them reason to dip their toe back into franchises or established projects that are well established enough to have a fan base that they could easily just piggyback off of.
Yeah.
And to some degree, you could argue it's been a success, but for a lot of those, they were very marginal at best when it came. I mean, some of them released straight to streaming. They didn't even have a theatrical release.
Peter Pan.
Yeah. But, that's just a straightforward remake, isn't it? Or did they try to...
No, that one was a straightforward remake, but it is funny that
Cruella
it
didn't do stellar. I mean, obviously...
I think it did well enough, but it wasn't
Endgame and Infinity War and that Marvel saga being the outlier there of doing fantastically well. But, you have these trademarks over the last decade and a half of Hollywood kind of basically, seeing that the villain somehow has a reason for having gone to the dark side instead of just being pure evil. And it has cut back a lot on, I think, just trying to drum up sympathy for those who are downtrodden or had just had a bad upbringing. And at the very least, that's what this film started out as.
Yeah.
But actually what I really liked about Elphaba and her character in this film was the rise above adversity. Mm-hmm. The fact that when she's portrayed as an adult going off to university, she already knows who her father is and how he's rejected her, and he's a sleazebag, and for rejecting her because of that. And you really don't get any inkling until she brings it up later about what happens with her mom.
Yeah.
As to why, he never really blames her because she was messing around on him. But regardless of that, it's like she takes all of that adversity and has chosen to turn it into not only a positive for herself, but a way to lift her, to rise above it.
Yeah.
And I actually thought that was a more positive message than what we even get nowadays. Because now it's the angsty, well, you were treated poorly, well, you deserve to get your revenge.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Hollywood, starts to push nowadays.
Yeah.
And then, so with that take of, no, Elphaba's actually just, she's good and could care less what other people think, along with Glinda being the popular socialite who comes in, kind of having the pomp and circumstance of, oh, everybody loves me, and she gets along with everybody and everybody swoons over her. But then to also have those two worlds collide when Elphaba goes out of her way to do something nice for somebody she didn't care for and knew was treating her badly or was taking advantage of her just because she thought, oh, she just wants to be liked by everybody, and I can see right through this vapidness.
Yeah.
Whereas then Glenda comes in and she's just like, oh, wow, she really is sweet. And they, she, like you said, learns to be good and strikes up a friendship. And it made the relationship and the friendship more organic and more, realistic than what we've gotten from all of the cultural, social, wokeness that's been pumped into films for the last decade.
And those are the things I think come from the original Broadway musical because they're just
100%.
ingrained in the story. Because I really felt like you could tell when there was added stuff. Because the whole length of this movie is almost the exact same length of the entire play. Except that this is only one half. This movie is part one. So there's definitely added stuff in there. I don't know which is which, but I always get the feeling I could tell because there would be times when it would either lull or the writing wouldn't be very well done or as well as it had been. And I definitely think looking at it and the themes that, when everybody's going around on the press tour doing conferences and Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are touting, all the
just grabbing each other's fingers.
Yeah, the weird,
it's so freaking weird. Man.
I don't know what's going on, but they're touting all the right things Hollywood wants to hear. And then when you look at it, like you said, it's like, okay, here's this white governor of Munchkinland who he abandons his daughter, he treats her like crap, and then the white leader of Oz, the white man, he's the one that's going to pin her as being bad, so make all of his wrongdoings and throw it on her, this marginalized person. And it's I understand.
Even in the very basic sense of them casting Cynthia Erivo, a black woman who then,
her skin color's different.
Skin color
everybody they think that's weird and they don't, they are mean to her about it.
A bunch of different ways that no doubt, I even said,
and some of that I think Hollywood does intend.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
It's very on the nose.
Yeah.
I mean, even from the moment the prince walks in and there's men and women alike that are swooning over him, and it's like he very clearly is a straight guy, and eventually that is a part of the plot, but them just throwing in those little flavors to certain crowds of people, the LGBT community, they have to have that in there to fit with a modern message. And so it was interesting because those were the parts where they're easy enough to just kind of be like, okay, are they force-fed? Is this something from the original, play?
Yeah.
Or is this something that's obviously for modern audiences?
Yeah, yeah.
But it was all, thankfully, easily overlookable that I could just kind of move beyond it and it didn't take me out of the moment.
Yeah.
There was enough meat on the bones, so to say, that I enjoyed the other aspects of the plot that kept the story moving along rather than just social things that they were trying to inject in the film.
Well, I think its core themes, like I said in the review, are more universal.
You mentioned it in the review, though, thing it says about the marginalized group of people. I thought that was fine.
That's the thing that's so funny with when people get into fights over politics, like one side or the other just wants people to be poor and miserable. It's like, no, but how we handle that is different views. But yeah, I don't think anyone would argue that it's never a good thing to marginalize anybody or a group of people. That was I mentioned in the past with Marvel Comics. That's one thing I love about X-Men is it is a great allegory for bigotry and marginalizing a group of people, but it keeps things universal. You're not trying to single it into one special moment where, no, this group of people exactly represents black people, or no, this represents the LGBTQ community. It's it's something that everybody can relate to because everybody has felt marginalized by something at one point in their lives.
That was the brilliance of any time a movie touched on that. The idea was that you as the viewer, any one person, even though millions of people are seeing it, can put themselves in that person's shoes.
Yeah.
And you can feel the angst and the heartache because you've felt that somewhat yourself before.
Yeah.
It's when, like you said, you very specifically pick out these groups to pigeonhole the message towards, that it then alienates a whole group of people just because you've picked this one group to say, well, you're more marginalized than this other, so you're getting special attention. Then it just becomes a competition of who's more marginalized.
Yeah.
And it's the back and forth in the culture war that we've been
like who gets crapped on the most. It's like, why do you want to win that award? I don't understand.
Right. I mean, it's like, why would we want to focus so much attention on that as opposed to, and honestly, that was the weird thing, is regardless of what cultural things they tried to interject, I think because they were still trying to be so faithful to the original work of the Broadway play, they actually did themselves a service of translating what the themes that are universal, that are timeless from the play into the movie, that will hold up more so over time than a lot of the other stuff they try to interject from what is current day.
Yeah, and I mean, I do like most of the musical numbers as far as like the actual songs and the performances from Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. They both definitely. I
love that they threw in the nod because I honestly didn't even know these two women until Wicked was burst onto the scene in the early 2000s. But both Adele Dazeem,
Adele Dazeem,
Idina Menzel, we know her name, and then Kristen Chenoweth. The fact that they both popped up in there, and apparently that was added. Cool. That was just a nice little nod to the original play. I thought the way they played off of each other, mimicking the characters from the play, you could very easily see they jumped back into those roles, even though they weren't playing Glinda and Elphaba. But I thought that was good. Minor gripes with the film is I thought the production design was fantastic. Yeah. The cinematography...
it looked like Oz.
It did.
Yeah.
And more of an Oz lived and breathed out than the original, which makes sense because that was 30s,
I mean, I
40s.
thought it looked better than the Great and Powerful Oz as far as like what Oz looks like.
100%. 100% better than that. That was Disney back with
James Franco.
And
Mila Kunis. Like, she looked terrible when they made her look like the Wicked Witch. Whereas in this one, they just went for the natural, like, painted... They didn't try... Like, because they gave Mila Kunis the weird cheekbones and the nose, and I'm like, it looked bad.
It looked bad.
It's like, whereas with Cynthia Erivo, they were just like, we're just going to do a natural, like, you're just going to be green because that's what makes sense.
and it was, interesting because at first, again, I'll be honest, it's like when this first came out, the trailer dropped and, they had her in, I was like, of course they had to do a race swapped witch to add to, but it didn't matter.
Green.
It was green.
It's green.
Yeah, it's green. I guess it's okay to be green face. Yeah. You can be green face. I don't want to go.
As Kermit the Frog would say, it's not easy being green.
There it is.
Yeah.
I like that's the best way to sum that up. But no, the cinematography was hit or miss for me. Yeah. There were some scenes where it blew me away, and I thought, okay, this is getting great spectacle and giving me, like you said, feelings of being right there in the midst of Oz. Then there were other times where, especially during the musical numbers, where I thought, okay, this is where it should land. This is where it needs to shoot the moon and really go above and beyond what I've seen before. I mean, you take something like La La Land, which we've brought up, and it's very plain Jane when it comes to, I would say, set decoration or production design. It doesn't do anything too extravagant. And I'm not sure of what the budget on that film was, even, 5-6 years ago. But if anything, it more so probably did with extras and costuming. Yeah. But he did an interesting thing with the musical numbers and how they were portrayed. And it showcased something that not necessarily couldn't be done on, a stage somewhere. Yeah. But done something that was interesting enough as a film that it took you to another world, the world that Damien Chazelle wanted to bring you in that movie. This did not. This, I felt like, relied a little too heavily on a man and a Steadicam. Yeah. Moving you through these scenes of great set, like I said, set design and production design.
Musical number, like as far as choreography and stuff. Yeah.
Nothing blew my mind. It really when you came over to review and you said it's like High School Musical, 100%. And I'm like, High School Musical was something for the Disney Channel before they got to number 3, and I'm just like, all of the camera moves and all of the choreography for the dance pieces mimicked that more so than what I would expect to get on the big screen.
And I think the play first came out in 2004, so that would kind of make sense for back then, like how some of the choreography is designed. But
that's if we know that they took it from
if it's even the same, from the play. But even then, like the camera work around the dance, like the dance choreography could have been fine if, like you said, when translating to film, you had some really interesting cinematography and camera work. But as it was, it's almost like he kind of just put a stationary cam, and like he had different scenes obviously that he cut to, but a lot of it was just stationary, them dancing or just panning out as they walk forward, or very simple, just following the dance moves, and it was just almost like you're watching a filmed Broadway play. And I know this is a Broadway play, but it's now a film, and it needs to feel like a living, breathing film.
Well, it's not like on Disney Plus where they just threw up the play version of Hamilton, and it was literally just and even there I think they had multi-camera cuts throughout it to make it more interesting than just sitting and watching the play.
But it was the recorded actual play,
Whereas this one, it's like, you
filmed this.
You've already brought me into the world of Oz with the CGI or with the set decoration, with certain spectacle. I wanted to see that within the musical elements, because that's the whole point of telling the story is from the musical perspective, especially considering, like you said, for it to be the entire duration of the play, and this was another knock I had against it, it never bored me. I don't want to say that. I don't want to go so far as to say it didn't bore me, but there were definitely moments whether they worked in terms of certain moments being slower. I thought the part where they're at the dance and it was the first time Elphaba and Glinda connect and their friendship grows, there were parts of that I loved, and then it kind of went on a little longer than I was like, okay, I don't know what the hell they're doing here with this dance number, and they're starting to do these weird movements and mimic each other, and I was like, there's no precedent for this. There's no, other than them just doing the dance in that scene, I was just like, I don't know what the hell's going on right now. This is just weird. So it just took me out of the moment to the point where I was like, I didn't really care for that. And that's the problem with the weak points throughout the film, is they took me just enough out of the moment that I couldn't completely write it off. And then when I found out that this movie is the entire length of the original stage play, it immediately made me think, well, I don't know. One, how long do you think the second part is going to be? Do you think it's going to be along the same length?
That's actually something I have thought heavily about, because with this one being nearly, what is it, almost over 2 hours? It's 2 hours and I have to look that back up. But the fact that it's at least a 2 hour movie, and you're doing a part two, is
2
it
hours
going to
and 40 minutes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was over
2 hours
and
and 40 minutes.
I can't imagine. I don't know the play. I don't know. I know how this one ends. And
how much more do they have to cover?
And how much more possibly goes on? Like, obviously, it's got to be at least an hour and a half, but that would even be crazy for it to be that short when this one was so long.
And a weird, someone at work was telling me that, oddly, the best musical numbers are in the first part, so what we saw, and they said in the story plot-heavy elements that are the most interesting are in the second part. So it's kind of interesting that they chose... I don't know how if they're going to try to just cram a bunch of that in like an hour and a half, and just say, hey, it's still theatrical length, it's still good, or if they're going to at least get it out to maybe not 2 hours and 40 minutes, but maybe 2 hours, and say, hey, that's
I would say it would need to be at least around 2 hours. It's going to feel weird if it's that much shorter when the first half was so long. But at the same time, I felt like the first part did drag, like we both mentioned it at times, in ways that I felt like they probably didn't need to add that. But like, you probably could have trimmed a good 20 minutes off the movie. Like, they could have made this movie closer to 2 hours, maybe the second closer to 2 hours, and you'd have about
maybe
a 4 hour. It would have been, about a 4 hour tale, and that probably would have been fine. But I mean, I guess, it is a lot of nitpicky things. I agreed about the choreography. I agreed about most of the visuals are great, other than the CGI for the animals, and that's not something that's just a problem with this movie.
True.
They don't look very much different from CGI in Disney's movies or from any other movie.
Again, I go back to the meme of how many times have we seen it posted about Davy Jones from
there's a few of them.
2005
Davy Jones,
or
Gollum,
6. And I'm like, and we've
Kong.
regressed. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, how in the world are we where we're at now with CG?
Yeah.
And it's got to be two things. It's either
and the budget was 150. I checked.
Right. Well, because they said that they filmed both at the same time, but they're splitting it up to where both are considered to be 150. So it's about $300 million total
for all of it.
You
could have done way better.
That's what's crazy is I'm like, it's either time constraints and crunch under all of these or the special effects houses, or CG houses, or it literally is just the costs have ballooned so much. And I just have to believe like there's just not enough manpower behind it, or there's just way too much content out there now that these people are working
Yeah.
night and day producing.
They just
stuff
don't
for.
have the time or manpower to actually make something that looks good.
And all you need is the approval from the production
Yeah.
house or the director,
The
and if they
studio's
sign
just
off of it,
stamping it and say, yeah,
Right.
yeah, push it out. We need the
that's
movie
good
to go.
enough. That'll work. Yeah.
And it's set because, like, it's one of those attention to detail type things. Like, if you put in the extra effort, it makes the movie that much more better. Just like we were talking about with the choreography.
Yes.
There's really only one moment I kind of liked. The very end, her final song when she's flying on the broom, because again, that is something that could only have been done on film. Like, yeah, I do believe they said like whether it's on some type of lift or what. Like, I know she does fly up in the play.
Right.
And obviously that's just however she's rigged in a harness or whatever. But to actually have her fly around and then fall down in the sky and like some of the stuff they did, I was like...
I agree. That it was funny because I'm glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
that was actually the final scene and the final number was the one thing that's... And even like you heard it in the review, that crescendo at the end
Yeah.
and all of the bulbs breaking and everybody kind of looking in awe and inspire wonder. Like... It actually was one of the moments in the film where I felt it.
Yeah.
And I felt like what people probably felt seeing it for the first time at the play. And I wanted so many more of those moments for why they decided to bring this play to the big screen so many years after it's been off Broadway. And I'm just like,
that one,
I just wanted to see more of that.
Yeah, that musical number, and I didn't mind Popular. I liked that because like the moment when they first like she's finally like, oh, I want to be your friend. Like I felt that one a bit too. I was like, okay, I like what they're doing here, and maybe it's just because I did like the fact that Glinda is finally like she's not just like they didn't try to just
A
be
vapid,
like,
hollow,
like, oh, Glinda
like,
was bad, the
socialite,
witch was really good.
Yeah.
It was like there's actually more to the story, and I do appreciate that.
No doubt. I mean, all in all, I was not at all like I went in again as someone who's not. Musicals are not my forte, and they're not the first thing I go for. I enjoy them occasionally, and especially if I'm surprised by them. I didn't walk away blown away by this one. I wasn't surprised by it. I'd already had an inkling of what I was getting into, so I kind of knew the source material a little bit.
Yeah.
Not the story, but what it was about. So I wasn't completely blind. But I will say, walking away, I was definitely more surprised than when I went in.
Yeah.
And so I'm intrigued to see how part 2 wraps up, how the story really does complement or fold into Wizard of Oz. I'm curious to see how it wraps up.
I am too. Ultimately, how it ends, I think, is really what's going to sell me or not. On, like I said, right now, I think if you go in with an open mind and you're not if you're looking for those things, like I said, like with like the cis white leaders and all that, you'll definitely find them. Though I'm not sure that that's the intention yet. Like I said, it really depends on how it wraps up. But I kind of feel like no, it doesn't seem like that is their intention. That just happens to be
I was going to say.
So I think if you go in with an open,
I
think if you go in with an open mind, you'll find you'll like it a lot.
You'll
more
actually you'll like it a lot more, and you'll realize these themes that they're actually telling you are a lot more closer to universal themes that'll transcend even just the here and now.
And not that it's without its flaws. Like I said, I gave it 2.5. Like it does. I'm not thinking it's perfect, but I think
it's not a musical that again.
I'm 35. Like, we'll be
exactly.
35. It's like
35-year-old man. It's not something that I mean, even a musical that I like I said, La La Land has a little bit more mature themes. Going on about it, but also it's not something that I just pull out of nowhere and start watching. I mean, I've got to be in the mood for it. And even this, I'm like, this was something that came and went when we were kind of middle school, high school. Definitely knew of theater. I mean, there were certain kids. I mean, we hung out with the theater kids.
I knew all about Wicked. And even back then, I never wanted to see it. I was like, I have no interest in this at all.
As I was watching this, no doubt, so many different faces in my head.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure in yours, of people we went to high school with, that immediately I started to think about. I was like, oh man,
I guarantee you
they went this on night one.
Yep.
They're waiting for the sing along version. They're going to be there in theaters for that one. They probably still sung along anyway. Tons of people that I know immediately when I saw this, I was like, they probably swooned over this coming out.
It did make me want to go back and rewatch the original because I love the original Wizard of Oz. So.
Oh, I do too. And it's funny, but I thought they did it well in terms of releasing it around this time of the year. Because, well, we're going to talk about it because it did really well at the box office, but Wizard of Oz also happens to usually come on TV.
It usually comes out around Thanksgiving and,
you
know, family films and such. Not that this is, it's not bad. I mean, There might be a few themes, especially like the cheating stuff at the beginning, like maybe you don't want really young kids to see, but for the most part,
I think you could.
Yeah, I'd say this isn't.
You could explain it away or be like, "Oh, she's doing something she's not supposed to."
Thinking about it, there's anything particular in here. I don't think you could a family could watch this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's PG.
Yeah,
I mean, watch with caution.
It's definitely a good weekend for families, and speaking of families, I don't know if you noticed.
I did
a little
notice the
message
text
that came through.
And I think you should go ahead and mention it. I don't know if he's watching right now.
Well, I asked Nathan because I didn't want to spoil anything before they told whoever they needed to tell, but he shared with our friend group. It would appear that Nathan and Morgan are going to be having a third child.
Third Curry.
Their family's going from 4 to 5. There's going to be another little Curry. So
that's right.
Congratulations, Nathan and Morgan.
Child.
I'm really excited for both of you. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to know the name. What's the name?
I'm going to call it.
I want it to be Brandon.
See. Well, we have to come up with a name to call it.
Whether it's a girl or a boy, just call it Brandon.
I'm calling it Gutierrez until it has a name.
All right, it's deemed Gutierrez until
Curry.
you decide a name. And if you don't come up with a name by the 12th of this month, Gutierrez sticks.
Gutierrez Curry. He'll be Goody Curry.
Goody Curry. I love it. That's Goody. That's Goody.
Come here, Goody.
Hey, Goody. I like it. So Goody Curry. Oh man. Hey, congrats for real. That's amazing news. We're talking about a family film, and we're talking about it doing great at the box office. It's a great time for family films because they just have taken over. And hey, you're making your family bigger. That's awesome, man. Good news. Glad to hear it. Alrighty, congrats to Nathan. We're going to get into our headlines. Let's do it. Very nice. That was awesome news. That's a cool Christmas gift to get.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
It's like Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I love it. That was beautiful.
Merry Christmas.
That's beautiful. Oh,
Morgan reacted, so I think
so. They are watching.
They are watching.
Oh well.
Oh, Nathan did send a text. He put Gutierrez. Wow.
Goody Curry.
Goody. Yep.
Hey,
Nathan
Morgan, what do you think about that, Goody?
It's gonna be Goody Curry.
Goody Curry.
Gutierrez Curry.
That sounds good to me. I love it. You can't do nothing about it. It's done on air. It's
official.
It's in history. It's on the interwebs.
That's right.
Everybody knows Goody Curry. Heard it here first.
That's
right. No, seriously, it's awesome, guys. Thank you all for sharing the news with us and allowing us to announce it on the air.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to bring up. One of the theater kids I was thinking about was Nathan. I don't know if he ever liked Wicked.
I don't know if Wicked be up. Do you want to go watch Wicked, Nathan?
But I think he would enjoy it. I think he could enjoy
appreciate it
appreciate it for what it's worth. I mean, being a theater kid and also the music in it. I mean, I will say, like, if there's one complaint about maybe how ridiculous they are on the press tour, both Cynthia Erivo and Ariana
they did
Grande,
a good job.
They've got lungs on them, and man,
they might be crazy in real life, but they could sing.
They could sing. Yeah, and I mean, if there's one thing we know about Hollywood, it's like you don't have to be sane.
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure I read that like they did like the live record, like they didn't just like it's not just ADR, like they actually recorded live, like they sang on set, and that's how they did the takes.
I'm almost certain that they probably did, and they probably still went back in and did like a studio version, but it probably matches up that much better. I don't know. Did they?
That's what I think they were using. Like from what I was, that's why I wanted to double check because
They
normally
used the
you
recording?
would, but from what I'm saying, they went straight. Like they did it all. Like
I just don't see
And
how
I
in
don't
the
either.
world you
Yeah.
could do that. I mean, for certain scenes, yes, but for the more energetic ones or the ones where they're like she's flying in the air, there's no way. There's fans blowing and all that. There's no way they could have used that. But even still, I don't know. The music was good. I mean, I will say,
because they said that this article from NBC is the first one that popped up. Literally said that was the hardest one to do because he wanted to forego ADR. So literally, Defying Gravity, they said was the one that was the most challenging to do. Which I mean, I imagine.
I believe it. I don't know how in the hell they did it. That's insane.
Yeah, that is and knowing that is also really impressive. Like, I mean, why he was determined to do that, I don't really know.
I mean,
I kind of get it because they can sing. Like they do have actual singers.
And I mean, it makes it more authentic. And if you go back to it being a Broadway play, it kind of mimics what they would have to do in real life anyway. And hey, can they really hit those notes? And clearly they can.
He said another reason was because it actually helped better with like when they were going back and forth from like singing
Cuts.
to dialogue
I
and stuff like that.
Yep.
Like it made it like he said in a
Oh,
lot of older
yes.
musicals, like when they do that, you could tell when the ADR cuts in. Like they'll have the song and then they'll cut to dialogue.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
no doubt, and even you can always tell almost. I mean, they've gotten way better about it and how it blends. But you can almost always tell when it cuts to the voice track versus the actual music track. And so having them do it on set, I can only imagine it made it that much better.
He did. Okay, I'll say this. They did. So it was the solos and close-up shots. He did say for some, like for wide shots, they used some pre-recording and lip syncing. So it wasn't.
I would have to
It wasn't 100%. But the close-ups and the solos were all without ADR.
That's
so,
still
I mean,
impressive.
yeah.
That's still impressive. I mean, and again, it's just cool knowing that they did push. I mean, but again, so much of that is cool from a technical standpoint, but it's on another technical level. That's where I want to see the choreography and the camera work play into taking the film to that next level. Because then that's a cool aside that I can say, oh well, then they brought their A game in every shot when they're singing, and definitely in moments where you see them being energetic or having to move a lot, and it's like they're singing at the same time. That's pretty impressive. I can't deny that. But obviously audiences thought it was impressive because, Thanksgiving, that turkey wasn't the only thing stuffed. Just
the
saying.
box office,
huge numbers.
I mean,
Absolutely incredible in terms of the movies that we're seeing not only
what's
succeed,
funny because we
but
talked
just-
about Barbenheimer and how Glicked wasn't quite a Barbenheimer, but here it is, second weekend Thanksgiving. You throw Moana in too, Moana 2 in as well, and it's like the three of them really did knock it out of the park. And I'm not all that surprised by Moana because the first one was so popular. It's almost similar to Inside Out, where people were going to come back to see what the sequel would be. And then I guess just Wicked's popularity continues, and even Gladiator 2, as much as we didn't love it as much as it seems other audiences are, but the audiences really are seeming to respond to it.
Yeah, oh, no doubt they are. And I mean, I do want to kind of read some numbers here because in speaking of Moana 2,
one was huge.
I don't know, it amazed me a little bit because of how much it not only overdid its projection, it made $225 million over the 5-day frame of what they consider to be the Thanksgiving holiday box office from Wednesday to Monday.
Yeah.
And so it beat out 2019's Frozen, which was $125 million.
Frozen 2.
Frozen 2.
Yeah.
So you're talking like almost $100 million difference.
More, yeah.
That's insane. And then even before that, in 2019 with Frozen 2, was 2013's Hunger Games, which opened at $109 million. I mean, huge numbers. Super Mario Brothers Behemoth back in 23,
I remember that,
was $205 million, and it didn't release around Thanksgiving, but they're talking about how it even trounced just that biggest release from Universal back then in that year. Said ticket sales for Moana sequel were higher than Sunday's estimates of the $135.5 million over the traditional weekend, $221 million over the 5 days, and far above the early projections of They only projected $135 million, and it made $225. That's insane. That's crazy.
That is insane.
And then as far as everything else that goes with it, it says it's not just Moana 2 that's keeping the nation's multiplexes booked and busy. Universal's adaptation of Wicked and Paramount's action epic Gladiator 2, both of which opened last weekend, are continuing to bring out audiences. Together, the trio of big-budget blockbusters are powering the biggest Thanksgiving period on record, approximately $422 million across all these films. It shattered the previous benchmark, which was set in 2018 with $315 million in grosses across all films, which were led by Ralph Breaks the Internet, Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, and Creed 2. And of all those, Ralph Breaks the Internet's worth it, but I would say Creed 2 is probably the standout there.
Yeah, honestly.
Crimes of Grindelwald was, that was...
No. And you know what's really crazy to me about like just Moana 2, because its budget is $150 million. That's what I was looking up. So it's already gone over its budget. Worldwide, as of right now, it's over $400 million. So it's already done double
And
its budget. Which
not
is,
only that, the
that's-
first movie capped out its original theatrical run at just over $600 million.
Yeah.
And it was considered a smaller success.
Yep, and it's already made that much, so it's crazy to me. And I mean, Moana 1 was, I think that it was a small success, but also that's also one that I think gets streamed a lot on Disney Plus. It found a lot of success, I think, at home because kids love watching it. The songs are fun. It's a fun movie.
I was gonna say, and we'll have the article linked in the description below, but they mentioned that Moana became a huge success after it hit Disney Plus later, because of that, marginal, like $600 million is a success for Disney. Especially back then.
Yeah, when they were doing $1 billion movies.
Right. And I mean, but for it to have, it said it was the most streamed movie.
Yeah.
With 11.2 billion minutes watched.
That's crazy.
Which is just insane. So no doubt with the Moana 2 coming out, I think they obviously expected it to be a success, but even their early projections were only in the 130 million range.
Yeah.
So for it to blow those expectations out of the water, I think just speaks to, how incredible it is ultimately that
I
how
think
well
it speaks about how popular the first one is. I think it also speaks to the fact that Inside Out 2 came out and was a success, and people were like, oh,
not woke.
Yeah, this isn't woke. You were faithful to the first movie, so I think people they earned enough goodwill back that people were willing to check out. Because again, Moana being so popular, I think people were willing to check out Moana 2. And from what I've heard, it's not woke either. So I don't know if it's a good movie or not, but it seems like again the focus was on telling a story, not just pushing a narrative. So
Well,
I mean, we'll
considering that they were originally going to bring this out on Disney Plus,
Yeah,
it was going to be
it's supposed to be
streaming.
a series, I believe, not an actual movie.
Oh, wow.
It was like a mini series, not like
And it's
a
interesting
multi-season.
because it seems like from critical reception, it's in the 60% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's kind of lukewarm.
But audiences are coming out and they said it's got an A cinema score.
Oh,
so
and
oddly,
that
that's
means
the
more
thing.
to me than whatever.
Right.
Because I mean, critics can say, "Oh, it's not that great. It doesn't."
Hell, even if
add
it's
much.
more of the same.
Yeah.
But the thing is we want more of the same when it comes to
As long as
traditional
it's
Disney
good, yeah.
that isn't bad and that isn't woke. And it's like that was what Inside Out to me was.
Yeah.
Inside Out 2 wasn't that great or spectacular.
But it wasn't bad.
But it wasn't bad, and it
Yeah.
was a good sequel. It was a solid sequel that I was like, okay, as long as they don't try to bury this like they've done with Toy Story.
Yeah.
If they don't keep going with just adding more emotions.
There is
in.
going to be a Toy Story 5.
I know. Don't remind me. I don't want to know. I could care less. But it's probably going to be successful. Inside Out 2 made $1.6 billion. Way more than I thought.
I like the concept, but I mean, I liked the concept of the fourth one, and they failed. So
Agreed.
I mean,
But it is interesting to see. I mean, they mention it too, and no doubt we knew that this year for Disney has been huge.
Yeah.
A huge rebound
Well, they
considering
needed
last
it.
year. I mean, last year I forget what movies they mentioned in here. That
That would have been the
likes of.
Marvels. I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was the biggest one they had. Was there another Marvel movie that came out that year?
No, I think it was. I'm trying to find all of
The
list.
Marvels was terrible.
It was awful. They do. Oh, here it was. It was Marvel's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Dysentery.
Yeah.
Wish, which came out around this time last
Wish
year.
did
That was
terrible
their
too.
Thanksgiving
Wish
movie.
bombed last year.
It was
Yeah,
awful. And
yeah.
Haunted Mansion early in August.
Yeah,
That was
bad,
another one
too.
that was a remake of a old Eddie Murphy
Yeah,
based
well,
on their ride.
Based on the ride
Yeah.
again. It's like, oh, Pirates was good, and we did Jungle Cruise. It was okay. It was popular. So
Well, and the box office is doing great, and Edie is because she just got in the trash.
Oh yeah,
So,
she's
you know,
happy.
She's very happy down
She said,
there.
"I got garbage."
She's looking at me now. She knows. I know.
She's like, "Oh crap."
Yeah, I know, pup.
She messed up. She brought the trash into the
But I mean,
recording studio.
oh yeah, she did. She it's a toilet paper roll on the ground there. But of course, theater owners they're absolutely over the moon
Oh, well,
regarding
they
this.
should be
They're
excited. I
Super
mean-
happy about the turnout and people coming back to the theater. And again, they're never going to. They're not like critics. They don't care about whether or not.
No, they don't care
there's
if
a
the movie's
bad
good or
Rotten
not.
Tomato- Yeah, they want people's butts and seats.
They
Yeah.
need, in order to stay alive, in order to keep theaters open, they need people to spend money. And I mean, for that, I am thankful. I do think this is another sign that it's not that people don't want to go to the theater. It's that if you don't have anything worth seeing in the theater, they're not going to go. And I'm afraid the lesson Hollywood's going to learn is, Moana 2 did good, Gladiator 2 did good, we need more sequels. It's like, no, that's not the lesson to be learned here.
Well, and here, the thing is, just like we were nitpicking with Wicked in terms of its set design and what it was able to accomplish on the big screen, that's part of what we do on the podcast, and we're always going to champion, a higher caliber than your normal audience is. But Wicked is one of those movies. Gladiator 2 is one of those movies.
Yeah.
Moana 2, it being a family film that, again, is a sequel off of something that was popular. These are films that will put butts in seats because it expresses either that theatrical, bigger than ever, bigger than life spectacle that you have to get at least once in a theater. Again, you're going to have your theater kids who are going to show up for the sing-along version of Wicked when it comes out later in December. That's going to be more money generated, not only for Wicked in the studio, but for the theaters. You're going to have families taking their kids, a slew of kids, to the theater to see Moana 2. You're going to have guys who want to go out and either have a bro night or even those who, are older couples who loved Gladiator when it came out in 2000.
Seen a movie like that in a long time. They haven't made. When I was thinking about it, I guess Napoleon's kind of like
that one came out last year and it flopped.
You haven't had a historical epic that was really good like that, and because everything has been superheroes and comic book movies or Star Wars.
Well, and I think for us as people who yearn for something that is like what we remember from seeing in our childhood.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is so disappointing is it's not that I want to see these films fail, and I certainly don't want to see theaters fail. It's just when a Gladiator 2 comes out and it's successful. I mean, it's close to taking the second spot of Ridley Scott's most popular films. And guess what his number one most popular film is?
Gladiator.
Yeah. So the fact that Prometheus was his last one to break.
Was a turd.
And it was over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's how long it's been since Scott has been on the scene with a successful hit.
Yeah.
Of all the movies he's released since then. So it's like, and he's been 2 years ago he came out with 2 in the same year.
Yeah. He did Gucci and
The Last Duel.
Yeah, The Last Duel.
And it was back months apart that they came out.
Yep.
But it's interesting because, like you said, I think people yearn to have it. And it seems like, yes, based on the audience scores, a lot of people are pleased with what they're seeing. And that does generate good word of mouth, which then does put more butts in seats.
Gladiator 2 is one I still feel I don't think it needed to exist, but it's also one that if you are interested in it and you like that type of film, it's worth seeing in theaters. I didn't hate it. It's just one of those things where at the end of the day, I was just like, I understand why an average audience would like it. I get it.
And I did enjoy the spectacle we got from seeing it on IMAX. They're just in the same vein as Wicked.
Yeah.
There were certain things that I just would have been...
I wouldn't mind seeing Wicked in IMAX.
True.
I bet that would probably be...
Especially for some... Yeah. That ending musical number was great.
That was not one I saw in an IMAX format.
Nope. and I will say, I'm like, there are times where we've walked out blown away by a movie because we saw it in the theater and we yearn for other people to go see it. I mean, Furiosa was one of those it's great spectacle.
Yeah.
But it didn't get... it didn't generate enough buzz to get people in. Yeah.
Well, heck, I loved Fall Guy. I wish that had done better. And I do think earlier this year, people still didn't trust Hollywood as much. I think there have been enough releases like Inside Out 2 or even Deadpool and Wolverine, Beetlejuice. There's been enough releases that I think audiences have seen. It's like, okay, Hollywood's trying to be a little less, preachy about bullcrap. So I think they've earned enough goodwill that they're still going to be tepid. I think the box office shows that people you still have to prove.
And honestly, that was what I was
making a good movie.
That was kind of going to be my final point with regard to the Thanksgiving box office. Is yes, it's stuffed, and granted, a lot of great. I don't know if they just had the right numbers or they took the right risks in balancing out what was coming out. I mean, again, theater owners are happy because all these are doing well.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of these, studios would like to see their number of viewers rise each week, amongst the competition. But that's been the story all year long. You've had hot pockets. Hot pockets.
Hot pockets.
I just really want
now I want a ham and cheese hot pocket.
See, I was going for the sausage and pepperoni.
The pizza one.
The pizza one. I don't know. Man, I haven't had one of those in like years.
Yeah,
It's been like since college, I think.
Yeah.
I can't
I think
lie.
Kroger stays open kind of late now till like 11. We can make it.
See, this would be one of the things where in the past we would have it was like the Cheez-It pizza.
Oh yeah,
we
we
would have
totally
just ordered
yeah,
it. And,
yeah, well,
that mimicked it honestly because hell, it was Pizza Hut at the time. It was some gimmick.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was like all it was a cheesy hot pocket.
pretty much. Well, that's like I didn't buy it. Like I saw it and thought about it. I was like, nah, I don't care that much. Like not anymore. But like, did you see like the Taco Bell did the Crunch Wrap, but it was a Cheez-It instead of the tortilla shell inside.
No, but here's the only thing that I'll give.
I mean, it makes sense.
Taco Bell a little bit of credibility on is they delivered with the Doritos taco.
Oh yeah, the Doritos.
And
taco
that was
amazing.
limited time for a long time, and then they were like, no, it's permanent.
Yeah,
and
it's
now,
great.
if I get a taco at Taco Bell, I'm getting a Doritos taco. Now,
That's a great idea. I mean, I don't think the Cheez-It one's really a bad idea because it makes sense instead of having a tortilla, like a hard
it's gotta
tortilla
be
in
hard.
there. Well, yeah, it has to be
It
crunchy.
can't be soft.
Because the Crunch Wrap, yeah, if it's soggy in there, it's bad.
And I hate
yeah.
to say it, but it's got to taste like a
Cheez-It,
Cheez-It.
yeah.
And I just don't see how you get something that massive, it's not going to taste like
I
a
don't know.
Cheez-It.
We'll see. Now I want to try it. They probably don't have it anymore.
Maybe for our 500th episode.
Oh.
Maybe for our 500th.
Yeah,
Who knows? Well, and the other thing, too, was the Cool Ranch.
Klaus, she's attacking.
She's fallen. She's
I don't know
fallen.
if that's a good sign or a bad sign.
She will not take Cheez-Its lying
Oh,
down.
man.
Or, well, maybe she will.
Maybe that's Sean fighting back. Like he's just like spiritual warfare over here.
Klaus is trying to.
Klaus is drunk.
Oh, she is. She's
Fraulein has drank too much.
She's drank too much porridge, man.
Porridge.
I don't know. Now I'm making her a little red.
She's
Riding
had some
Hood.
grog. Too much grog.
Too much grog. I don't know what. She's got too much chocolate milk.
Oh,
That's what Miss Klaus drinks.
it's that eggnog.
That's eggnog.
Yeah,
That's
she's
it.
got the.
Somebody spiked the eggnog.
Yep.
Oh, she's falling back again. I'll fix her later.
She probably bought that cheap Evan Williams eggnog.
That's it.
Tastes foul.
Oh my gosh, you just can't stand
That's what
up.
happens. That Evan
She is
Williams
done.
gets you, man.
She's done, man.
It gets you.
Just go to sleep. Too many. The souls of children.
The children have won this Christmas. The Fraulein Klaus is out.
She heard about Goody Curry. Goody Curry.
That's a heck of a way to celebrate 500.
Just get ripped off some cheap eggnog.
Oh.
That's it. That's it. All right. Well, maybe we'll have some cheap eggnog and a Cheez-It Crunch Wrap.
Yeah.
For the 500th. But no, Thanksgiving box office is a sign of what has happened throughout this whole year where we've had pockets of success and also slumps. It has been hit or miss all year. Obviously, the new year to come, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the box office. But I think, Disney has definitely been on an upswing when you got releases like Inside Out 2, Deadpool Wolverine, and of course, this latest hit with Moana 2. No doubt is turning out the audiences and is exactly the bounce back that Disney wants to see. It's just, hey, you got to keep entertaining the masses and you got to keep giving us more of what we want and not, giving us the crap that you've turned out the last few years. So maybe they're starting to learn their lesson. But I am ready to move on to the second topic, probably our final topic of the night before we move into our story time segment.
Yeah.
And that means Mr. Samuel L. Jackson, he don't want just a nomination.
No.
He wants a win.
He said nominations aren't prestigious. They
No.
don't mean crap. He said winning is what matters.
That's all that matters. It isn't an honor to be nominated. It's an honor to win.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I don't.
It's
I
a bit
kind of
pretentious.
agree.
There's some things he said that it's like I feel where he's coming from in some regard because he mentions that people don't remember. He's like most people don't even remember the winner, to be honest. He's like you mentioned it's like it's not like nobody knows you when you're nominated.
Yeah, I will say you could take this as a Samuel L. Jackson opining and for and also politicking for a nomination / win.
Yeah.
Fishing for that. Or you could take it as he's just shooting you straight and he's kind of like, look, great. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to be nominated, but nobody cares.
Yeah.
All they care about is a win. And he's like, basically, he wants to win one.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I feel that.
It was crazy because when I read this article, I was shocked that he's only been nominated for Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
I
Thinking
mean,
about all the other roles he actually even other roles with Tarantino.
Well, he mentioned his other one he should have got
I
nominated
think
for
was
was
Jackie
Brown.
Yeah, and I see that.
I do, but man, I'm trying to think of other ones.
Django.
He's good in Django.
He is good in Django.
He could have been maybe a supporting actor, more so than Christoph Waltz. And Christoph Waltz plays the same freaking dude.
Yeah, Christoph Waltz is the same in everything.
Yes, and I think he won for that. I think he won for both Inglourious Bastards
right.
and for Django.
And then Sam just got overlooked. I'm with him now. I'm pissed for Samuel Jackson too.
And here's that he received an honorary Oscar, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah,
and he said
he's proud of it.
He's proud of it, but he kind of scoffed at it as if like, it's funny that I received this, but I didn't get an actual Oscar. He's like, I guess I'll take it.
Yeah,
he's like, it's got my name on it.
Yeah, he said it's an Oscar. Yeah,
but I think he wants one for a performance.
Yeah,
and let's face it. I didn't sense that he was bitter. He's the same old Samuel Jackson that you get in any interview.
I think a lot of it's tongue in cheek as well.
And he's down to earth.
Yeah.
And the fact is like I like to see someone he's hungry. It's like he still itches for that win. But hey, as I brought up on the show multiple times, and I'll still bring it up till the day I die, Alfred Hitchcock died and passed away without an Oscar.
Some of the greats never get recognized for some strange reason.
And to me, sometimes I feel like that says more than anything about not only just the Academy, but how times and change in the industry, but also in the Academy itself. I mean, if you look at the wide swath, I mean, we've been highly critical, no surprise, on this show about the Oscars over the last decade. I mean, really since we've been doing the show.
Nah.
And the thing is there's been a lot that have come and gone. I mean, we're talking about the major categories, not just actors, but even like movies that we've just completely written off like, it won Best Picture, but who the hell's going to remember it in 20 years? And to me, that speaks more about the faults of the institution than anything, because when you stop honoring those which really will stand the test of time for the sake of either the message of whatever today holds, or even to uphold something that you think somehow is the epitome of what you stand for as an institution of film and arts, as opposed to just truly also being entertaining. Again, the same thing that we've criticized about the Academy when it decided to go from 5 to 10 the year after The Dark Knight wasn't nominated, because it was like, that wasn't a Best Picture nominee. It just didn't fit that category.
Yeah, it doesn't fit.
So I do think it is interesting, because I think a little bit of that ire is coming through from Samuel L. Jackson here, and rightfully so. It's like he's not sitting here saying, "Hey, I want my damn Oscar, give it to me."
Yeah,
he's just saying that sometimes the Academy will overlook certain greats not in spite of, but you kind of get overlooked once you've become the status quo.
Yeah.
And you turn over a certain performance that then becomes like, oh wow, you're always turning out good performances, but only certain ones like a Leonardo DiCaprio or a Meryl Streep are going to constantly get nominations, and some others are going to be just consistently always good, but maybe never ever ascertain or reach that level of, we're going to consistently nominate you or you're going to win. So I don't know. That's kind of all I take from it.
Yeah, I agree.
So will Samuel L. Jackson get his Oscar?
Maybe one day. I don't know. Maybe he'll get it for his role as Nick Fury in the future. They'll make a Marvels 3, and he can win for that.
Yeah, he didn't deserve an Oscar for that one.
Not for
I
Marvels.
will say that in the midst of...
What about Mace Windu? Give him an Oscar for that.
For that one line alone, you know which line I'm talking about.
Oh.
When he's... No, never mind. I'm sorry. That was the Emperor. The unlimited power.
Yeah,
but
that's when he's throwing him out the window. He does scream. Yeah.
Well, for that scream, he deserves it. No, anyways, as I was sitting there thinking back through Samuel L. Jackson's catalog, my first thought was, he's a lot of the same person.
He is.
In everything.
He is a lot of the same person in everything. So, and that could have a lot to do with why he's not gotten as many. Like, he has great roles, but they're not as varied.
Black Snake Moan.
Yeah. That was
Snakes
a good
on
one.
a plane.
He might have deserved it for Black Snake Moan. Or maybe
Shaft.
Maybe, yeah, Shaft, definitely.
Yep.
Maybe Mr. Glass. They should have given him for that one.
That was a good role.
No, yeah, it was.
But
it was. It was
it was
and better in Unbreakable. I mean, he was good in in Glass is just the movie itself was a little disappointing.
Yeah, you can't really knock him for that.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't his fault.
No.
Like, he did a good performance.
True. But I don't know. Maybe we'll see it. I think maybe we'll live to see the day where Samuel L. Jackson
When Samuel
gets
it.
his
I hope
his
he
Oscar.
does. I hope he does.
Same. I mean, he's
Maybe
a good
they'll
actor.
make a sequel to Shaft, like a legacy
I mean, it's crazy.
sequel.
He said he's been in 150 films since.
I believe it. Man's been in everything.
It's crazy. His first film was Coming to America, and then he's been in 150 since.
That's awesome.
But I mean,
Yeah.
to me though, it's like I also think if you really are, cutting up with Samuel Jackson, I mean, it's not that he doesn't want the award. Obviously, he wouldn't announce it like he has.
Yeah.
But I also think too, he's one of those that's just like, man, I got a job and I get to do this for a living. I mean, Jurassic Park, fantastic.
Yeah.
know?
Hold on to your butts.
Yeah, great role in that. I mean, he is definitely a known commodity in everything he's in. It's like he stands out because
Yeah.
he is Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah. So I mean that's
all there is to
maybe
say.
that's better than an Oscar.
That is.
Just saying.
He's someone who transcends Oscars.
He
'cause
don't want to be nominated. Damn it.
He's just. I think he's one of those actors that whether he wins an Oscar or not, people will remember him. So
Oh, no
there's
doubt.
definitely you got that.
No doubt. Alrighty. I think we're ready to move on to our
Yeah.
story time. Let's get into it.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
Man, why are you laughing? Why are you chuckling?
I'm just sitting there like I know I do the randomly yell from time to time, but I really did just yell right into that
Yes,
mic.
you did.
I was like, yeah.
Thankfully, I had one of these off, and I
was
didn't
just-
hear it full throttle,
Yeah,
and my eardrums
I
would have
was
burst.
just like, yeah, man.
Which
Let's get
Edie,
into
I
it.
mean, she didn't have no Thanksgiving turkey, but she
Oh,
is in like a
man.
toilet paper coma. She is knocked out.
She is.
She's got toilet paper
I just
roll.
looked under the table. And
The cameras can't see it. It's off camera, but there's just strawn out everywhere, and she is just.
She's snoozing.
She's-
She is passed out.
She's
down
done.
there.
She's had her fill. She's done enough damage, and now she's like, all right, I'm
And she
good.
looks so peaceful and happy. Like she's just content. She's
I think it's
content.
because the look I gave her earlier.
She's like, I'm
I
gonna
gave
lay
her that
down.
look, and I was just like, you've done something bad, and she was just like, all right, I'll stop. And then
I'm
she's
just gonna
laid
lay
down.
here while I can enjoy some peace until he gets up and beats me.
That's what I do.
Mm.
Hey,
Mm.
order, abuse. There's a difference. But I also think it's interesting that you pick Gutierrez,
Yeah.
Curry,
Yeah.
and that reminds me of Hannah Gutierrez Reed,
Oh yeah.
who
yeah.
was that armorer who was
Oh,
guilty
man.
on the set of Rust.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know if there was a connection there.
I don't think so, unless it was a subconscious one. I hope Nathan's child doesn't grow up to help shoot somebody.
Well, that's why we're gonna call him Goody.
Goody. Yeah. he's
Goody fits.
Goody.
Yeah,
Goody.
I like that. All right,
Okay.
let's talk about our story time segment. We got a good one. I kind of came up with this out of nowhere.
Yeah. What's
Worst
that?
way you've spent a holiday.
Mm.
We had Thanksgiving this past week. Could have been that one. Could have been another one.
Oh,
could have been any
actually,
other holiday.
yeah.
We've also got Christmas coming up.
I was gonna say I can't honestly. It was probably last year when I was sick because I mean I don't have one I could think of specifically for Thanksgiving. But I know we didn't we always go to my mom's on Christmas Day, have breakfast, open gifts, like all of my brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and everybody's there. And we did it a week later,
I
because
remember that.
yeah, I mean, it was after the New Year, actually. I think so. It may have been about a week and a half later that we actually had Christmas because literally I got sick, my sister-in-law got sick, Miranda got sick.
It was one after another,
I
falling
think
like
it was just
dominoes.
COVID or
Yeah.
whatever going around, but it was nuts. And that really was, I think, the sickest I've ever been was last year because I normally don't get very sick. And knock on wood, I haven't been sick this year, so
You might have just jinxed yourself.
yeah. I am a little stuffy right now, but I think that's more to do with allergies than sickness. Again, knock on wood. Hopefully, Sean's psychically giving me whatever he has.
Say, hopefully, well, he apparently got it was passed on
said-
from Amelia.
Yeah, Amelia
to
had it
him.
first, so
So I'm just kind of like, well,
and I know
hopefully he
there's
doesn't get
plenty
it
of
to
bugs
us.
going around. But yeah, I think
that time of the
that's
year.
trying to think of any other holidays, but I do definitely remember last year. Just
No, there
being
was a,
sick and at home and
I say I
miserable.
might have brought it up on the podcast before. I'm not sure. I'm going to bring up just this past Thanksgiving because that's what made me think of this.
Oh yeah,
But there was a Christmas back when I was real little, and I remember because we always go to Christmas Eve service, and I remember having to stay home from that because my dad actually was home with me because I was sick.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I mean, and it was just one of those things as a kid. They could tell like I was just miserable.
Yeah.
They even let me open a present early because I was just I stayed home from church, and I think like they all went out for Christmas Eve service, and my dad stayed back with me, and then they all got home, and of course, I mean, we had Christmas like normal, but I just remember that one in particular because I felt miserable.
Yeah.
And who wants to be sick?
You don't want to be sick on Christmas. Yeah.
Especially as a kid, that's the happiest day of the year. And then this past Thanksgiving, so just last week, it was on Tuesday, I just woke up like normal, went to the bathroom, and I usually go over and I, pet my pup, pet Edie, and she rolls over. Well, it was pitch black in my room, and she went to roll over, and her paw kicked me right in the eye. this right eye.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was a direct hit. Like as soon as it happened, I immediately knew. She got like, I didn't flinch, I didn't blink. If there was a little bit of light in the room, my eyes might have had enough light to reflex and see it before it happened.
Yeah.
And blink at the right time. But it was just the right instance. I mean, immediate strike right on my cornea. And I knew the feeling from an eye injury I had like 4 or 5 years ago. And so I'm sitting there and I'm just like, about 20 minutes go by and I'm just letting it, like, I'm just rocking back and forth, kind of letting it take its toll, trying to like let it, get all the tears out and everything. And then I go on about my day like normal, thinking, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't that bad. We're okay. Wednesday comes, day before Thanksgiving. It's about noon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and man, it starts to hit. I mean, every little thing is irritating the eye. I can barely keep it open. My eyes are just getting heavier and heavier, wanting to close and wanting to keep it shut. And I still had, like, I was at work. I had the rest of my work day to go. I had to go to church that night to do slides. After that, I was helping somebody move a table. It was like the rest of my day was booked. It was no going straight home and just getting, like, knocking out. So I get through that whole day, get home, and I am dead tired. My eyes are just barely staying open. I finally crash, but Mom and Dad wanted us over at their house so we could have breakfast on Thanksgiving. Of course, I wanted to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, all I need is a good night's sleep. That was the only thing that really irritated my eye today. So I still get a good, like, 8 hours of sleep. Wasn't enough. I get over to their house on Thanksgiving Day, and, I mean, I'm just, like, eyes halfway shut. I'm having to cover it and having to keep it closed. I almost try to put an eye patch on it. It was just all day long dealing with it. And it wasn't miserable. I still got to enjoy Thanksgiving dinner. Thanksgiving dinner was fantastic, as it always is. Props to Mom and my sister and my brother-in-law, Jeff, he smoked a turkey. Only way I'll enjoy a turkey from now on. But no, just one of those things where it was just like afterwards, it'll definitely be memorable because it was not how I wanted to spend my Thanksgiving. Definitely wasn't expecting how I was going to spend it. And still it is a week later, and I'm about 90% there, but I'm not fully healed yet. So that was one of the worst holidays.
Yeah.
I hate to say. I wish I would have spent it 100%, and unfortunately I was at like
it stinks.
65, 70%. But still enjoyed my time with my fam, but I just wish I would have been 100%.
Yeah.
So there you have it. You got any more?
No, I can't think of any. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. Nothing stands out.
No, most of our holidays have been, pretty decent.
A bad Halloween? You didn't get any candy?
There were a couple
Somebody
rainy
stole it?
Halloweens, but those were always interesting. Not necessarily bad.
Those were typically like you just stay home and didn't get a lot of candy, but watch some scary movies. And I don't know. To me, that's always like it.
I mean, I remember still trick-or-treating, like as long as it wasn't like downpour.
Or like thunder. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any others.
Like I said, I definitely remember last year because of how sick I was. But no, yeah.
Okay. All right. No, I think that does it. Sean's not here to share his.
I know he had the 1 year, was it Thanksgiving or Christmas? He told us about the wreck he had That was on the podcast.
Yeah, I think he did.
I imagine
maybe
that would
we
be,
did do this.
I don't think
know.
we did,
Okay.
but I don't remember why that story came up either. I think
Because
this
that was the
first.
one where he went like it was not 4-wheeling, but it was like in his Jeep, and like
Yes,
Dennis
yeah.
had to come and get him, and it was on like
Yeah.
a major holiday. I thought we did maybe do something like that. maybe I'm just rehashing old stories.
Oh man,
And maybe it was
Man.
just because I
well, we
just
had new stories to tell, so that works out.
That's true.
That works out.
That's true. Alrighty, guys. As always, like, share, subscribe. We appreciate all the love you give us on all of our favorite social media websites there. They are at the bottom of your screen. Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on X, Red Moon Pics on Instagram, and, of course, search for Red Moon Productions on both YouTube and Rumble. Appreciate all the love there. There is that old-fashioned way. Hold on, Keith. You're going to say it, but I'm going to put it on Sean's shirt. Be like the Oh, wait. Hold on. Maybe I can bring up an effect. You think? Hold on. Maybe I can bring up an effect on your.
So, just before we did have one comment from Kristen who said she spent Thanksgiving at the ER last year, and I do remember that she had some,
yes,
food that went down the wrong pipe or I forget, but she had some issues from that.
Oh man, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it lasted long after Thanksgiving too.
Yeah.
That was no fun.
Yeah,
That was not a
So,
fun way to spend the holiday.
Definitely feel that one. I feel that one.
All right, I'm gonna hold on. I gotta figure out how to. Oh, hold on. I gotta turn it on, and then it's on your.
Oh.
It sounds like the Ferris Bueller.
Oh yeah.
It does. It does. Hold on, I can flip through these, but we got to find the right one.
The right one.
Keep going.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Oh,
What?
I'm just pushing all of them now. I'm just going through.
Oh, it makes me think of not this one. Oh, hello. Hello.
That's like an echo.
Echo. Yeah.
That's like
That's modulated. Oh. That's a different echo.
It's a delay. I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
I don't need to speak.
Oh, wow.
You don't like that one?
Wow.
Want to read it like that?
I can.
I was trying to find like a disembodied.
Hold on.
It's like
sounds
Sean's
different
from
to
a
me,
distant
so like trying to
land.
do the voice now is weird. Hold on.
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
That's it. That's it. We'll end on that. I wish I would have went through those to find. I got to put it back on the right one.
Find the right
I
one.
think it was 24 was the right one. Is that
Do I sound right?
Yep, that's the right one.
Oh, well,
I took it. Oh, you want to go?
did.
All right.
I didn't know
No,
what you
no,
was
go
doing.
ahead. Go ahead.
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
That was the disembodied voice we used last year for the Halloween special.
the Halloween special.
Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it. We wasted way too much time on doing that.
I know,
But that's
just-
what a
just to
podcast
say
is
goodbye,
for.
yeah.
Just say goodbye.
Yeah.
So you tuned in for this last like 5-10 minutes for nothing.
Nothing.
So until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host. We'll be back next week. Remember, we've got a very big special announcement at the top of next week's show, episode 499. So tune in next week for our major announcement for episode 500.
All right, Dan.
I mean, Sling Blade doesn't say it any better.
It's working! It's working!
Did you get the other one in there?
This one? There.
That'll do it.
They're all in there.
Alrighty, guys. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host. Oh, yeah. He'll be back next week. Sean Sebastian and
Keith Cheatham.
until then, bye.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.